Hello, hello, hi there, hello, hi there. Welcome back to Dishes with Del. So this is going to be part of my Learn to Cook series. It's going to be a whole collection of skills and the things that you use in the kitchen. There's going to be a few parts of it. We're going to cover searing meat and prepping meat, to cooking fish, to different techniques. But this week we're going to learn some knife skills. We're going to learn how to chop in all the different ways that you might read in a recipe. Julienne, bâton, dice, etc. So let's get to it. So one of the first things that we need to consider when we are chopping is a board. So we need to consider, more importantly, what we have underneath the board. So here I've got a little bit of non-stick matting, which is really important for when you're cutting things so your board doesn't slip around. If you didn't have one of these, a little bit of damp paper towel or even a tea towel would do the job. So that is number one. So once we've got our board nice and secure on the bench, we need to get a knife. Now I like quite a large knife. This is perfect for the job of chopping and dicing and doing all the things that you may need. When you're holding your knife, you want to make sure that you've got a good grip of it. So we're gonna wrap our hands around the bottom. We're gonna use this finger here as our stabilizer and this one here as our stabilizer. So we're going to make sure we've got really good grip on that knife. You don't want it to be, you know, floppy in your hand or anything like that. That is the most important thing, to have good grip of your knife so that you can keep it nice and steady when it comes to cutting. Another important thing about your knife is keeping it sharp. I have a steel, and in which case I take the knife down and keep it on the same angle each and every time. When you're first starting out, it's important to do it slowly because you need to make sure that you keep the same angle on both sides of the knife as you do this. So I'm keeping it on the same angle each time. So never feel like you need to go fast. If you're just doing it at home, you know, just take it slow and then you'll get a really good result. If you didn't have a steel, you could always buy one of them things for your knife that you drag it through. That's a really great option. If you are, you know, quite new to keeping your knives sharp, that is a great way to do it because you will get the same angle every single time. If you don't keep the right angle, then it's quite easy for your knife to become blunt. And as you get more used to being able to do it, you can speed up. And your knife is ready to go. It's important that you sharpen your knife almost every time that you use it. I mean, that may seem a little excessive, and if you're doing it at home, then maybe not so much, but certainly in the kitchen, we would sharpen our knives maybe once or twice a day. And to keep a really great edge on it, maybe you might use a stone. But again, most of us at home don't have one of them. And so now everything is ready. We've got our board nice and secure, we've got our knife, it's nice and sharp, and we know how to hold it. The next thing that we're going to learn is how to use your knife. So you want to make sure that you have your hands in a claw like this when you're cutting, because if they're out like this, there's a chance that they might get chopped off. So make sure that you keep your hand in a nice claw position when gripping whatever it is you're cutting. And we can do this one of a few ways. When cutting as a beginner, a great way to do it is to do a rolling chop like this. That means you're going to cut all the way through it and all the way to the bottom. This is pretty much the way that nearly every single person will do it. So you're going to have in at the top, and it's just about going faster. So that's how you do that. There is also, you know, you can be a bit chefy and do this one, but there's not really any need for that at home. It's just a bit showy offy, and you know, it doesn't really always produce the greatest of results. So let's move on to the one that you're probably going to chop the most at home, and that's an onion. When we're dicing an onion, we want to go in all the way to the root end down here, but not through the root end, because that is going to keep it in place. and then you turn it and you chop across the front. And that there has produced a nice dice. If you wanted to create a slightly larger dice, you would just make these slightly further apart. And then again, slightly larger apart. And you will end up with a larger dice of onion. And the other technique that you might come across when reading a recipe is sliced. And for a sliced onion, you have here the root end. You remove it on an angle like that. And then you finally slice. This is where you may want to use a slightly different chop, but you can also use the roll. The roll is great for when you're just learning, and you can get precision in what you're doing without going too fast. And there you have sliced. And as these onions are starting to bring some tears to my eyes because they are strong, we have our 3 varieties of how to do it. These are more often than not what you're going to come across in a recipe. We have the dice, the fine dice, and the slice. All very simple. Just make sure that when you're cutting that onion that you always lay it flat side down. That way you've got even less of a chance of it slipping about. But that is the type of onion that you might need to do. Easy as. If you're just beginning on your cooking journey, these are a great 3 things to master because they pretty much encompass every single veg that you may well need to chop. You may see some different variations on things, and we're going to cover a little bit of them next, but this is pretty much your basic chopping. Take it nice and slow when you're first beginning, and as you get better at it, you will get faster. These were some of the first knife skills that I learned almost 20 years ago, and they are still with me today, of course. But yeah, just try it out. The only way you're going to get better is by practice, so give it a go. And now to the fancy French section. So these are the words: Julienne, Bâtonnet. Oh, what's the last one? Brunoise. All very fancy words for the way that you cut your veg. So first of all, we will do, what should we do first? First of all, we will do bâton. So the bâton is referring to a slightly larger stick. So we cut them into nice thick sections like this. And then like that, and we have bâton. If we were working in a fancy restaurant, maybe we'd cut the edges off like that, so that we'd have perfectly square bâton. But we're not, we're at home. So that there is your bâton. And then from your bâton, we can go to brunoise. Much the same as when we dice an onion. You can either have fine brunoise or large brunoise. I don't know if you'd come across many recipes these days with something written like that, but they might have small dice, and in which case, that is what you would do. You just have these perfect little squares of carrot, and they look very pretty, and they all cook at the same time. And then finally, we go for Julienne. So much the same as a brunoise. And this is the kind of thing that maybe you're going to put into like a salad because you don't want things that are like too big, but you still want it in there with a little bit of bite because you're keeping it raw. So here we are taking very fine slices of the carrot. Oh, we missed one, we'll eat it. As you can see, we have super fine slices of carrot. And then pile them up into little piles. And we go super fine across. As you can see there, again, I used the two techniques so you can see them both. We've got the roll and chop, or we have the slice straight through. The slice straight through is great for beginners because you learn precision, but the rolling chop means you get it nice and fine every time. And there you have it. So this, as you can see, super fine. These guys nice and chunky, and these just the perfect small fine dice. These are once again maybe some things you might come across in a recipe, and much like with the onion, practice makes perfect, and you can end up with these lovely, beautiful little things. You can use these for any kind of vegetables. You could use them for cucumbers, for courgettes, for celery, for, parsnips, and even pumpkin. You can just use, sweet potato, potatoes. You can basically put these skills towards any vegetable that's out there. That's all that we're going to do today. Practice these skills at home. Let me know how they go. I always love to hear from you all. Just some simple knife skills that you can take forward into your everyday cooking at home. I hope that it was useful, and there will be a few more in this little mini series to come. Like I said, we're going to learn all sorts of other stuff. And if you're ever stuck at what a recipe says and are not sure about the fancy words, well then there you go. So thanks for tuning in. You're not really going to get to see me eat anything. Well, maybe a few little bits of carrot because they're yum. But I will see you next week, where I promise you we'll be back to recipes and something delicious that you can make at home. See you guys soon. Bye.